There is a law called the law of first mention. It's not a Yahweh-made law. It's a man-inferred law. In other words, those who study the scriptures for thousands of years, the Jews, the Jewish brothers that we have discovered that there's a law called the law of first mention. And what that means is the first place something is mentioned usually gives you the definition. Look and see how something's used the first time, and it tells you an awful lot about what the word or the idea is all about. And the very first place in the Brit that worship is mentioned is in Matthew chapter 2, when the Magi say they want to come and to worship, in verse 2. So that word, proskuneo, the first place it appears is Matthew 2 and in verse 2. So that gives you that idea that this should give us a much more solid base of an understanding of what that word may mean if you go to where it's used first. Because sometimes we'll get a definition in our minds based on something that's said, 300 places later by, some other writer way down the line, maybe even thousands of years later, and we've got a misinterpretation of what that person is meaning because we've been taught it by other people incorrectly. And then when we go back and plug it in, we find out it doesn't work. That's like the word grace. We did the whole teaching on the search for the doctrine of grace. And so we take the idea of grace being unmerited favor, and then we go back to the very first place it appears, which is in Genesis with Noah. It says that Noah found favor or grace in the eyes of Yahweh, and we can find out, so he picked Noah because he hadn't merited it? It was unmerited favor that he gave to Noah. Meanwhile, he said that he found all the evil in all the generations, but Noah was different. And then we find out he was perfect in his generations. And so he did merit it. So unmerited wouldn't work. And so when we start taking our definitions and going to first places and plugging them in, we'll start to see whether or not they work correctly.